the family of Dr. Joyce Laboso, Her Excellency, Your Excellency, the Deputy President, Speakers of the National Assembly and the Senate, Cabinet Secretaries present, and my colleagues. This is not a speech on behalf of the governors, this is a speech on behalf of friends, and because we couldn't trust ourselves, we decided to put it down in writing. If I get stuck, someone else will finish it. Standing here today to eulogize our dear sister and friend feels almost surreal. It is hard to come to terms with the reality that a daughter, a sister, a wife, a mother, and a friend who was once so vibrant and vivacious is no longer with us. It is a testament of the fleeting nature of this life, which at best can be described as brief, and a reminder that we ought to live our lives conscious of the fact that there are no guarantees, and putting God first, and doing everything we can for one another when we are still alive. The late Dr. Joyce Laboso Abonyo was our friend, a colleague, a confidant, a companion, and above all, a true compatriot who loved and served her constituency, county, country with great dedication. We have lost a jewel in the crown of our nation. As friends, we all met Joyce at very different points of our lives, but mostly for some of us through the public service. And we remember her initial reluctance to join politics when the time came. But with the support of many others, she went on to thrive and even become the first female deputy speaker. During the 2017 elections, a common calling brought us together. We were all navigating the treacherous path seeking to be elected leaders. For me, her, and Governor Ngilu, we were seeking to be the first women to be elected governors in this country. Like any pioneering achievement, it was very challenging for us as women, jostling through the male-dominated political intricacies and intrigues of nomination and election. In the midst of tremendous pressure, we somehow managed to find great humor whenever we met. We often mused and wondered, what were we thinking when we decided to get into politics? Who sent us here? We were often shocked at the difficulties, especially the insults that sometimes we would wake up to on social media. And we would chat and ask, did you hear what they said about me? Did you hear what they said about my hair? Did you hear what they said about my legs? Did you hear what they said about my shoes? And even some of the very unkind things that people always say to politicians about their families, femininity, and personalities. But it was not always all gloom. We often exchanged jokes and shared our experiences on the campaign trail and enjoyed a good laugh about it. We developed an easy fondness with each other, all of us, as we weighed the heavy issues that came with the high stakes of political office. We were pleased and grateful at the end. Many of us managed to get elected, and those who didn't managed to get an office. Joyce had a very special way to all of us of bringing our focus back to the fact that we had a God-given task to serve his people. She often said that her aim was to make that woman in the village proud of her. She often reminded us that we were honored by the sacred trust of the people who voted for us, and we had a duty to live up to the honor of that high calling. She was also always quick to remind us that we are very flawed, especially when we had a problem with our critics. She urged us to be more tolerant to our critics and not take matters to heart. As you know, some of us cannot quite be described as calm and patient. We did our best to heed her advice, even if it did not come very naturally to us. And we'll be very okay after Joyce had always talked to us ladies, be calm. until you open your phone again and there's another insult or another word, and the process would start all over. She was always the calm one amongst us. This gospel she especially preached to my sister, Honorable Shebesh, whose friendship is the kind that is fiercely loyal. Even when Joyce was the aggrieved, she would be the one to call good sense and reason to the actions that some of us were plotting to take. Joyce always reminded us to forgive and let be. As one of the generals in the Women's Brigade that shaped the second phase of the presidential elections, the late Joyce Laboso was a gentle yet firm voice of reason. She would compel us to calm down when things got very charged. It was in her nature to be steadfast, sober, and calm. Us always to lead by example. In all honesty, just these couple of weeks that she's been very unwell, I cannot tell you how many times in our WhatsApp group people have left it and been brought back, just because she was always the one who used to calm us. Sometimes we would have very heated conversations about politics and people would storm out. She was always the one who would bring us back to a place where people can actually look at each other and face each other in the face and talk. Having this sisterhood represented here, we have leaned on each other for support and laughed through the tears. It is this same spirit of sisterhood that has carried us through the last few months that have been very trying. As her sisters, we shall miss those precious moments of our friendship, when we got a chance to chat, to share a moment, to dance to music together. I remember just one of those days when she was in the hospital, going through her care, and BT put for her favorite music. And vision for the country. During our visit to London, Joyce was weak. But in that context, she still wanted to know what the plan was for maintaining unity in Jubilee, and how we would ensure that we play our role to keep it together. Following President Uhuru Kenyatta's call for national unity through the handshake, our sister Joyce wasted no time in embracing our brothers and sisters from across the political divide. She had a cordial relationship with everyone, regardless of their political affiliation. She was a true Kenyan matriarch. To the people of Bomet, especially the people of Sotik, we thank you for giving us the late Dr. Joyce Laboso. As governor, she lived for Bomet. There were many times that our sister walked out of the hospital in Nairobi Hospital for therapy. She was eager to get the work done for her people, and she never once complained. We had to take her phone away from her repeatedly during the course of her treatment so she could get some rest and stop worrying. As the people who had the privilege to listen to her wishes towards her last days, especially politically, we feel implored to share some of these things with the leaders gathered here, and especially our county administration and executive. The late Governor Laboso envisioned a mother and child hospital whose designs are done. We pray and hope, Your Excellency, that that project will be finished in this term. The late Governor Laboso also promised the women of this country that she would ensure they stop breaking their backs from fetching water. We hope that whoever takes over in Bomet will ensure that that work she began will be completed, and that every household in Bomet will have piped water by the end of these 3 more years. Our late sister, in just about 2 years, had built 180 ECD classrooms and was in the process of completing this upgrade and beginning a school feeding program. We pray that this also, as one of her dreams, will be realized in her honor. At the peak of her illness in the UK, it was particularly rough standing with our dear sister Joyce. We all tried very hard to be brave like she was, and she bore her illness with great courage and fortitude. On one of our visits to her recently in Nairobi Hospital a few days ago, we willed ourselves to be strong for Joyce in the high hopes that she would recover, and together with Governor Charity Ngilu, we would continue to champion the voices of Kenyan women in every county. That was not to be. We have lost one vital voice that was committed to making every Kenyan woman proud, and every Kenyan proud. The late Dr. Joyce Laboso will be remembered as one of Kenya's most accomplished stateswomen. Not only was she one of the first 3 elected female governors in Kenya, she was also the first female deputy speaker of the National Assembly, an accomplishment she shares with no one else. As an elected leader, both at constituency, county level, Joyce's personal desire was to secure a peaceful, prosperous, and united country for every Kenyan. As a woman leader who was interculturally married, she inspired many of us. She demonstrated great commitment and diligence to this country throughout her career in public service. We know Joyce would want us to remain united as leaders, and we promise to do our best to uphold her legacy of unity and be the voice of every woman, mother, sister, and daughter in our nation. Fare thee well, our dear sister. You fought the good fight. You have completed your race. You have kept the faith. Rest now in your Maker's embrace. Thank you.